Recently, I put up a YouTube poll for you all asking what kind of hunting rifle content you all are interested in. I had a list of cartridges and I was surprised to see a lot of comments around 280 Ackley Improved. Wasn't even on my list. In this video, I'm responding to that feedback by doing an awesome 280 AI build. Buckle up. Hey guys, Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. That's right, it's time to talk 280 AI. I just noticed that 280 Ackley Improved is a SAMI certified cartridge. It's based on the 280 Remington, and what's cool about it is you get a lot of the performance you're going to get out of something like a 7 PRC or a 7 Rem mag, but you have a standard 308 bolt face, and you can use 30-06 magazines. So it's no wonder why this is such a popular hunting cartridge, and it's also a popular F-class shooting cartridge. In fact, this is not my first 280 AI build. I built an F-class rifle for one of my customers using this reamer right here, and this will actually be the second build, but the first that I'm showing here on the channel. Let me talk about what we've got going on here. So we're gonna do the complete build. We're gonna sight it in at 100 yards. We're gonna get some groups. We're gonna look at velocity and performance. We're gonna evaluate this as a hunting rifle platform. And what we've got for build components is, starting at the heart of the matter, we've got the new Pristine long action. You're gonna wanna check out the build that I just did with the Pristine short action. That was a 6GT lightweight hunting rifle. Turned out really awesome, shoots amazingly, really cool build. Now we're taking it to the long action. We've also got the Wooks Superleggera stock. This is a unique offering from Wooks in that this is a lightweight configuration. It's got an adjustable cheek riser. This is an option that you can choose to either have or not. It increases the price just a little bit. It's lightweight, just 2.2 pounds. It's got American walnut. It's got a polymer mixed construction here. That's carbon reinforced nylon, which is going to be a great balance of strength and weight savings. So this is inlet for Remington 700 long action, which is going to be compatible with our Pristine long action. And I'll talk more about the stock as we get the rifle put together. We've got a carbon 6 1-in-8 twist barrel. I originally got this for a 7mm PRC build, but I thought since you all wanted to see 280 AI, we're going to use it for that. So it's a little bit faster than a conventional SAMI spec 280 AI, but I thought it'd be great to be able to spin up things like the 180 ELDM bullets, 175 ELDX, some of the stuff that we've worked with 7 PRC. We've got a Manson reamer, and we've got Manson go and no-go gauges. I'm trying for the first time the Bixen Anti-Dakota trigger. This is a hunting-oriented trigger. It's got great adjustability. It's really, I've been enjoying the Bixen Anti-triggers a lot lately, and we're gonna be doing a lot more with them. Okay, and then from Hawkins Precision, we've got the Hunter DBM, and then we've got the Hunter Mag. And I really, really like these components because when you insert the magazine, it just sticks down barely below the stock line. And so it's really compact, but it does give you that detachable box magazine capability. I like to have my mags preloaded, but have my hunting rifle in a safe and compliant configuration. I can run out into the field, pop in a mag, and pop off a round and be legal and be safe. I absolutely love that. Okay, so this is going to be a totally fun build. I'm planning to use the Precision Matthews PM1440 HVT2, which is right behind me. I'm going to get to work on the barrel. I'll go over that process. After I perform that work, we'll put the rifle together, we'll shoot it. This is going to be awesome. If you're interested in doing this kind of gunsmithing, including chambering, muzzle threading, Cerakote, and more, go to schooloftrades.edu and check out the Colorado School of Trades. All right, guys, here's the finished rifle. This was a really fun project. I can't wait to tell you all of the rest of the details. What I used for this build is right behind me. It's the Precision Matthews PM1440 HVT2. This is the heavier duty 1440 ultra precision lathe. It's got variable speed. I really like using this lathe for rifle builds. It does really great barrel work. Okay, let's also talk just a little bit about the 280 AI. So the 280 Remington is the parent cartridge. 280 Remington is essentially a 30-06 neck down to 7mm. The shoulder is pushed forward 50 thousandths of an inch. It typically comes with 1 in 10 twist, and that shoulder is pushed forward so it specifically won't chamber in a 270 Winchester, which is not compatible. The 280 AI takes the 280 Remington and bumps that shoulder up to 40 degrees. You can see here I have a comparison from the Hornady website. They make factory ammo for both of these cartridges. We've got the 280 Remington on the left and the 280 AI on the right, and you can see that that neck length is the same, and the 40 degrees just kind of brings the shoulder forward at the back and increases the steepness of the angle. And so you get a little bit more case capacity. You have a standard 308 case rim, and you shouldn't need to trim as much because the steepened shoulder angle reduces brass flow when you're doing your full length sizing. And again, the reason we're doing this is because all of you asked for this. Hey, what about 280 AI for a hunting build? It's an overwhelming response to one of my recent social media posts, and I thought, you know, we definitely got to do that. So that's a little bit about the 280 AI. In terms of chambering, where things get a little bit tricky is your headspace gauges. So technically, let's say you have a 22-250 reamer and gauge set. If you're going to do a 22-250 AI, you can use basically the standard go gauge for 22-250 for your no-go and use an Ackley go gauge for your go, right? So in this case, if I didn't have the go and no-go set dedicated for Ackley, I would have used a 280 AI go for go. I would just have one gauge to get, and then just use the 280 Rem go for the no-go scenario, right? But I didn't have a 280 AI set, and from Manson, I got the dedicated set. So we have an Ackley go for go, and we have an Ackley no-go for the no-go. They're just dedicated. What it says on the gauge is what it does. That's the simplest way to go. But just know, if you do want to check headspace, or if you want to chamber a rifle, technically you can use that standard non-Ackley go gauge as the no-go. Okay, a little bit more about the Pristine long action. Again, this is our second Pristine build. We also did a short action 6GT that turned out phenomenal. 2-lug design, unlike the 6-lug design on the short action non-Magnum. CNC machine from 416, stainless pre-hardened, 90-degree bolt lift, floating bolt head, swappable bolt faces, which we did to go from Magnum to 308. It's available in left and right-handed configurations, which is awesome for all of you lefties out there. You can order it as a repeater with a bottom mag cut or as a single shot with a solid bottom. And in terms of finishes, it's available nitrided like what you see here, or polished, so that's your preference. Available bolt faces include 480 for 308, 540 for Magnum, and 585 for the 338 Lapua and similar cartridges. So where I started with this build, like I normally do for planning purposes, is to get the tenon print, which I got directly from Pristine, which you can see here. This is a standard 1 1/8 by 20 threads per inch barrel tenon design, which is a Savage large shank. It's interoperable with that barrel system. And so I did measure the action to make sure that from the front of the recoil lug to the bolt face matched what was indicated on the tenon print, which it did. That's always a good idea to do that. And through the process of taking all my measurements and taking inventory of what I had, I realized that I had an issue. So what I discovered when I looked at everything that I was dealing with here, 1.2-inch barrel shank, and the need for 1 1/8 by 20 threads right there we have a potential problem. So when you have 1 1/8 inch barrel threads, you really want 1 1/4 inch barrel shank diameter so that you have enough shoulder. When you tighten the receiver onto the action, you're going to get a good stable interface and it's not going to creep or move around, right? I wasn't comfortable with a 1.2 inch barrel shank and 1 1/8 inch threads. It just does not leave very much shoulder there. So I thought about it and I thought, how are we going to address this? And what I thought up was, I'm going to cut a step-up ring and do internal threads on it, again 1 1/8 by 20, and I'm going to screw it on so that it can basically act as a step-up between the shoulder on the 1.2 inch barrel shank and the recoil lug. Remember here, the recoil lug is just a hole with no threads on it, right? Because it has to slide over the threads on the barrel tenon, right? So you have inherently a little bit less shoulder there anyhow. So my plan was cut a ring, thread it internally, and it'll basically serve as a step up. And that worked out actually really well. So, I had to account for that with Headspace. And basically what I did, and you can see in the picture here, is I just screwed the ring on and then treated that as the new shoulder that I would be dealing with for Headspace measurements and tightening the action, going with the go and no-go gauges, that kind of thing. I believe the width was about 140 thousandths of an inch on that. So typical barrel chambering process here. I've gone over this multiple times. Key and critical aspects of this are the dial-in, the pre-drill, so I can get my 1/10,000th of an inch indicator into the throat area and to look at 2 different points to make sure that we don't have radial runout and we don't have angular runout. And so that's one of the most critical parts of the whole thing. And then making sure that all of the dimensions are correct. We have the correct end play and so on and so forth. So I threaded the tenon. This is, again, 1 1/8 by 20 threads per inch, and threaded on the action, made sure that I was happy with the fit. Of course, I checked that with a threading micrometer. Everything was perfect. I like to cut my threads on the looser side rather than the tighter side, because the shoulder and the helical areas of the thread should be centering things up and nothing else. And there's really no point to having tight threads, even for ultra precision applications. I then cut the counterbore and then fit the receiver on with the bolt, right? Just to make sure that everything was going to close. We had the proper clearances, all of that, right? And so went ahead and installed the reamer and started to take off bulk material, checking for runout. Started the chambering process in that way, and then finally took measurements with the go gauge and a slip over ring to see where my headspace was going to land. Everything went really well, and I did an inspection with my bore scope, and just the throat transition area into the rifling, absolutely perfect. Headspace hit dead on, and just a real smooth process, and the step-up ring worked great. Okay, so after all that, I torqued down the barrel and checked my headspace again. Everything was good. Probably a little bit on the tighter side because I think I ended up with just a little bit more crush with that step-up ring, but still beyond minimum, beyond go, so that was good. Another thing about this build that's really worth noting is the Hawkins Hunter DBM and magazine. This is really an amazing setup. You just push this tab forward for the mag release. This is CNC machined aluminum precision. I mean, you just feel it. It's really super nice. It's just enough purchase to get the magazine out when you need to pull it out, but it doesn't hang down, right? And I love the fact that with this Hunter DBM setup from Hawkins Precision, I can have my magazine preloaded, I can be compliant, but then if I see it deer as I'm jumping out of the truck or whatever, I could pop that magazine in, chamber around, off and running. It's a lot easier to unload as well. Just pop the mag out, put the bolt back, and the rifle is safe. So really good stuff. Also available in short action, available with specific setups for rifle chassis. Highly recommend it. Before shooting, it was time to put on a scope, and I decided to go with this Element Nexus Gen 2 4 to 25 by 50. These Element scopes are becoming favorites here at Ultimate Reloader. They're made in Japan. They have quick adjust. I'm going to show you how cool this is. If you want to zero your turrets, you just take off the thumb screw. There's also one for windage under the cap there. Pull the cap off, and then you can make your adjustment. I'm going to put it back on zero. And that does two things. We've now re-zeroed elevation in this case, but in the case of elevation, we've also set the zero stop. This particular scope has a 30mm tube. You're going to want to check out our Theos. That's a higher end scope. It has a 34mm tube. Both scopes have worked really, really well. This is perhaps a little bit heavy for a hunting rifle, but that's kind of how I tend to run things. I'd rather have tactical scope features than to cut corners on weight. So we do have a full story on this scope. We used this scope on the Bergara Sierra and then did a completely separate story as well where we put it on the optics test rig and all that. So I feel like this is just a really good scope for this premium rifle package. So with the scope on the rifle and with an adapter to go from Picatinny to Arca and a nice bipod attached, it was time to break in the rifle. And I started with the bipod and a rear bag just to get things sighted in. And then we moved to the mid-mountain range where we do a lot of our precision 100-yard shooting off of a bench. And I had no ammo, no factory ammo, so it was all really up to me here to load ammo, to shoot it, to get it sighted in and broken in. And the interesting thing here is we've got a 1 in 8 twist barrel. The standard spec is 1 in 9, right? Which is already faster than the 280 Remington, which is 1 in 10. 1 in 8 is great because now we can spin 190 grain projectiles and have a lot more versatility with the kind of projectiles that we're going to shoot in terms of the weight range. The downside is I didn't have any exact load data with the same twist rate. So we started off a little bit conservative. We started with the Hornady 180 ELDM, and the reason I picked that is that shot really well in both of the 7mm PRC rifles that we built here on the channel. But that was not the case with this rifle. For some reason, my groups were really not that good. We did get a load with an SD of 5.5 and an extreme spread of 13.2, which was slightly over max charge. Don't do that at home. We worked our way up slowly, only very slight pressure signs once we got to 60 grains. So, I was happy with the velocity, just not happy with the accuracy. And then we went to the Berger 180 hybrid, and this is where things completely transformed. Same 60 grain charge weight. This time, 5 shots. Very first group I shot went into one hole and right at half MOA. Let me show you how that went. If you're interested in barrel blanks, actions, triggers, and more at great prices, go to where I go to, otmtactical.com. The UR5 discount code can save you 5% site-wide. So I was really, really happy with those Berger 180s. The Hornady 190 ATIPs also didn't shoot as well, kind of like what the 180 ELDMs did. Not sure exactly why. It could be that with some load development, things would correct themselves. But honestly, with the Berger 180 hybrids shooting this well, I don't think I need to look any further at bullets and just focus more on maybe different powders, different charge weights, different bullet seating depths, that kind of thing. This rifle obviously is a shooter. Okay, so let's talk about the trigger a little bit more in depth. We got our Bixen Anti-Dakota from Bullet Central. This is the first one that we've ever tried for Remington 700 with top right safety. There's a bunch of different models and different configurations that you can choose from for these Bixen Anti triggers. The Dakota is primarily a hunting trigger, but also is great for long range. What I like about it is that the trigger pull rate is adjustable from just under a pound to about almost 4.5 pounds. So it's quite an adjustment range. For a hunting rifle, I like to run mine at right around a pound. If I'm shooting target, real precision target, I'm typically down around 7 ounces. So being a hunting rifle, this is the perfect application for the Dakota. So the Dakota is a single stage trigger, and what we thought we'd do is put it here on the TriggerScan TS11 and run some profiles. So I ran a triple scan, and what amazed me about the results were the fact that the travel to actuate is about 14 thousandths of an inch. Very tight. Now, when I was shooting at 100 yards off the bench, what I did notice is I always knew when the gun was going to go off, right? And that to me is the sign of a really good trigger. So we had a peak force of about 0.9 pounds. The travel to actuate was, like I said, 14 thousandths of an inch. And over travel was about 85 thousandths of an inch, it looks like. So really good, crisp results. I think you can see in the trigger scan that we've got a really nice profile here. And really, the proof is when you go to shoot the rifle, and I found it to be excellent. Okay, so in conclusion, first off, you can use the Ultimate Reloader 10 code to save 10% site-wide at wookstore.com. So this Super Leggero stock, if you have any of the other stocks, any of the other products, add it to your cart, type in Ultimate Reloader 10 when it comes to entering that discount code, and you're going to get 10% off. Really killer deal. The Super Leggera looks amazing. I really like how it's both traditional and it's forward thinking. It looks like an old school rifle on the one hand with the walnut, and on the other hand you've got advanced materials and new profiles, right? Like I really like this angled profile here on the fore end, and the finish quality is absolutely excellent. The step-up ring worked great to take our 1.2-inch barrel shank up to a 1 1/8 threaded receiver. Really happy with how that turned out. If I was going to chamber it again, I might add 1,000th or 2 to the Headspace, the cut depth with the reamer, just to bring it up to kind of more of a middle value. Totally doesn't matter. A little spoiler, you know, the follow-on video, which you're also going to want to check out, we do reloading for the 280 AI, and I discovered that when I took my factory Peterson brass and fireformed it, the shoulder blew forward 7 thousandths of an inch. So it turns out it really is not a problem. The Headspace that we have is probably perfect for that brass that we're using. Fireform it once and then just bump it 2 or 3 thousandths of an inch for each load. Pristine long action works great. I like the way that it feels. I like the way that the rifle shot. It's got some unique features. You can use Savage barrels with it, which is really cool. And also, again, don't forget to watch the follow-on video, the 280 AI reloading end-to-end. We got some really nice Forester dies using the coax, and went over some interesting kind of insights, tips, and tricks about the Ackley Improved cartridges and some other things. So that's going to be a really fun video to watch as well. Here's what I'd like to know is, what do you think of this build? What do you think of the Super Leggero stock, the Pristine action, the Element Nexus Gen 2, and that Bixen Anti-Dakota trigger? If you have experience with these products, if you have thoughts about what you'd like to do with them, I would love to hear your feedback and have that discussion down in the comments section. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel, or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.